Welcome back to our Let's Play series in Space Engineer Survival. This is version 1.190.101. It's been a couple of days since I recorded, but in the meantime I have done a little bit of work on the ice station here, in particular on the script and on the drills. I have added a second piston and straightened these out. They used to be off on the sides with conveyors, so that we can drill that a little bit further. Also moved or added the status information to the main LCD panel here. You can see it's still showing in the console. I made a couple of quick changes to the script. I think I'll actually go over those at another time because this is not supposed to be a scripting episode. But what we are going to do is we are going to take what we've collected so far, head back to the, I turned it off of discharging the battery, so now it's going to do that again. Take what we've collected so far back to the Space Industrial Complex and build ourselves a welding ship. Don't really have to worry quite so much about that. What I really need to do is grab this ice out of the actual station itself.
No fuel.
Alright, so reactor on, gyros on, engines on, access the camera, disconnect, and up. I do want to go up faster, but I don't want to roast the cargo container. So I'm taking it kind of slow here. Head off to this point that we set here to get clear of the asteroid. We can turn our lights on. Slow down our momentum a little bit. And we're off. I'll just go kind of slow for now, make sure we actually do clear the asteroid because I didn't go all the way out to the rendezvous point. Don't want to slam into the asteroid here super hard. Don't have a whole lot of visibility in this ship. Looks like we're gonna clear. And there I'm going to waste a little bit of time here traveling, because I did want to show the changes that I made to the ice station, because that one piston that we had that was coming off the side of the conveyor blocks wasn't actually enough to get all the ice. So we needed to restructure that a little bit. Go ahead and turn our gyros and engines off. I also had to make some changes to the configuration. The program is actually running the pistons a little bit more slowly, and the rotor is turning more slowly, because when you have the same set of RPMs but a wider circumference, you're going to end up spinning the tip at a faster velocity, and you don't want to overpace what the drills can actually mine out. Otherwise your drill's going to get bound up and you're going to have problems. So the rotor's only going at 1 RPM now instead of 2. I don't remember exactly what I did with the piston speed, but it's slower. So we are going to be making a welding ship. I think I'm actually going to make it a drone, just because there's really no purpose in putting a cockpit on it, because it's going to be very kind of local in terms of the work that it's going to do. It's mostly going to be for building the space industrial complex out itself. So it's all going to be very close to where we are, so we can just sit inside nice and comfortable and use some ion thrusters and cargo containers and batteries and such to kind of fly the ship around and weld stuff with a much larger cargo capacity than we would have just carrying it ourselves. And I think the welding tools that you can attach to ships are even faster than the fully upgraded welder. I could be wrong about that entirely. But in any case, it'll be faster because we have the cargo space. And the cargo space really at the end of the day is what slows us down, because we have to run back and forth to a cargo port to access the components and stuff. So being able to load it all onto a cargo container on a drone ship will save us time in the long run, even if the welder is slower. So it's going to be a pretty simple ship. Hopefully it won't take us too long to build. And that will be the episode for today. As for actually testing it, I think we'll actually test it by building ourselves a fighter ship, and we'll do that in the next episode, because we've got that salvage station protecting a lot of the resources that we explored initially, and I would like to be able to take that on, rather than just hiding from all those salvage drones that we're avoiding by coming all the way over here. I think if we destroy the salvage station, they'll stop spawning. And I think there's also some cool resources we can get from the salvage station itself. I mean, we're pretty good on resources. At least we have a location for all of them. But I think that'll make for an interesting episode to try to raid that. Or, get blown up trying. Either way. You can see the big block in the distance there. That is our space industrial complex for the time being. We are going to make that fancier looking and add engines and probably at some point even a jump drive to it so we can fly it around and do stuff. Also have a proper hangar bay for the fighter at the very least. might try to make it big enough to fit the colonizer as well. Probably will not design it to store the mega miner because the mega miner is pretty big. The mega miner may attach to the outside to it somewhere, or we may just leave it behind and build something else wherever we end up going. We'll see. In any case, it's time to power ourselves back up here and correct our trajectory some. I recently watched Patrick Henson's new scripting video that actually just came out this morning, I think. Well, I say this morning, this is airing on Monday, so this will be, it aired on Sunday morning, at least, you know, Eastern time where I'm located. And he did a jump drive controller that was very cool. Because the way that you apparently have to manipulate jump drives in script is just by setting up blind jumps. So that required him to orient the ship, and as people who have seen all the episodes may remember, orienting the ship towards the location is something that I would like to do for an autopilot that I would like to develop. The shortcoming of the autopilot that is included in the game with the remote control block being that it turns inertial dampeners on and uses engines the entire time rather than you know, pointing you in the right direction, getting you up to speed, and then coasting. I'm not sure that the way that he did it is the way that we will end up doing it. He basically picked a few blocks around his ship and created a bunch of triangles. There is a way to actually retrieve the orientation of the remote control block or of the cockpit block, and then once you've got that orientation, you know, figure out where you're supposed to be oriented and then use the gyros to turn it. I'm not entirely sure I understand how that works yet though, so I'll probably do some fiddling with that off camera before we actually get around to writing anything to do that. But that's definitely going to be in a future episode, not this one. But anyway, if you haven't seen his video, definitely check that out. Especially if you're interested in scripting. He doesn't go into a lot of detail about how the script is actually written, but he does explain the concept that he used, and the save world is on the workshop. Because the script itself is kind of specific to his ship, you know, based on the way that he designed it. And that's due to the fact that he's picking blocks around a certain point and using kind of the difference in the various trigonometric functions based on the triangle there between, you know, the position of one block versus the position of another block, and the waypoint that he's heading for to determine what the angles are. And I do think that there is another way to do that, like I said, and that's what I'm going to play with, is trying to figure out how to do that based just on one control block rather than on multiple blocks. We'll see how that goes. That will quite likely be our hangar bay there where those two connectors are sticking out. few more cameras on here might be nice. Just bump the drills into the connector. That's why I slowed down. There we go. Gyro's off and engine's off, so it's not fighting against the connector. But it will wiggle a little bit until it's a little more stable. And it's about as stable as you get. And we're locked. Shut off the reactor. Relocate our cargo. Fit? Nope, can't fit. Now we can't even fit it all in here. I guess that's one of those good problems. Inventory management is definitely a thing that we need. Alright, we've got everything offloaded, and we are refueled. Just to make sure here, should just have some ice in the O2H2 generator, and then the reactor. Yep, cool. What are we carrying? That's fine. Okay. Now let's clear off our bar. We still need the armor blocks. Always need armor blocks. We're going to need a remote. We're going to need a battery. We're going to need, I'm going to do a large cargo container depending on how that looks. We need ion thrusters. We need cameras. And we'll probably need, well, I don't know if we'll need conveyor tubes or not. We'll definitely need welder though. Need a connector. We don't need that. 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 Don't need any of these windows. Or LCD panel. Don't need any of this stuff. Might want lights back eventually. I'm trying to decide if I want to put a small. I don't think I'm going to put a small reactor on here, at least not to start with. We may end up changing our mind on that one. We don't need any of this stuff. There's the camera again. Okay. I do want a landing gear, at least for now. Oh, that's not where I want it. Because we're going to build this off of the landing gear. We'll probably want a programmable block as well. But I expect to grind off the landing gear before all is said and done. And we're going to build it over here. Won't snap it to the grid. Oh well. Alright, we're going to stick that there. And then we want cargo container. Because that's kind of going to be the center point of all this. Alright, so we got smalls on every, no, we got smalls on top. Wow, that's not helpful. We got smalls on the top, the bottom. No, not the top. Unless I make one of them the top. But I'm not going to. We could put reactors on those side ports. But I think this is the way I want this oriented. Except I am going to spin it. Like that. That is exactly how I want it. I need interior plates. Of course I do. I'm going to grab all of these. Because interior plates and steel plates are the two bits that you need to actually place stuff. Obviously you need a lot more components to, you know, actually weld things up. But just to place it, interior plates and steel plates will get you everywhere you need to be. Alright, so there's our cargo container. That's the main focus of what we're doing here. We will put a container, or a connector rather, on the back. We will put our welder on the front. Oh, I forgot gyros. Everybody always forgets gyros, and I'm not special. Okay. Now we need batteries. As we just did reactors. I think I'm just going to put a battery up here on the top. And if we need another one, we'll put it on the bottom once we get the landing gear off. Put a camera on the back here and on the front. And we need a remote control block, which I will put here. And I thought I grabbed thrusters. I must have messed that up. Thrusters. Yeah, we'll do 2 and 2 for front and back. 1 there, 2 and 2 there. 1 there, 2 there. 2. I have a feeling 1 battery is not going to be enough. 1, 2. 1. 2. 1. 2. Here's our engines. Our thrusters, rather. Now gyro. Oh, I need an antenna. Can't forget an antenna. How do I want to lay that out, though? Put it down here. Do you want to do that, or am I going to break it if I do that? I think I'm going to break it if I do that, so I'm going to put it in the front. It looks better facing out like that. I will put the gyro back here, though. Because of the gyro, I don't have to worry, but it's shorter. I think we'll be fine with 1. And I'm not entirely sure if I need to bother with a programmable block on here, because there's no displays. Well, we could stick an LCD panel on the side if we wanted to, but we don't want to be able to see it from the outside. There's no cameras that can point at it. Engines, connector, cargo, thrusters rather, connector, cargo, gyro, antenna, battery, welder, remote, cameras. Yeah, that's all we need. Let's grab all of our bits. We don't need the solar panels, but we'll do something with the rest of it, I'm sure. Computer and 4 radio components. Computer, 4 radio components. Two computers. We have motors and steel tubes. Six computers and 1 display. Now we've got 2 in each direction, so we're going to need 6 thruster components altogether. And 12 thruster components and 12 large steel tubes. And 3 more computers and 1 more large steel tube. Small steel tubes, what do we have? We have 6 computers there. Three computers there, so we need 6 computers altogether, because there's 1 in the front too. Two more computers and 20 power cells. One more computer there. Alright, let's grab some bits.
Energy low.
Refill our energy. Starting motors. There's a thruster. There's the camera. And we need steel plates too, apparently. Really? Yeah, we need steel plates. Okay. I'm just going to make 100 of those because we'll use them eventually. done with the interior plates, because interior plates all only go in the cargo container, and if we had any conveyors, we'd need them for that. We don't have any conveyors. Did I not rename them? Alright, you know what? See, the problem is, since I hid them, the small cargo containers I don't think are labeled. No. Or they're not prefixed, rather. And I know it's these ones because there's two of them on the same grid, and they're also on the same grid as the stuff I know is prefixed correctly. So now if I do SIC small, there they are. Alright, so I'll stick that back in there. I think I'm done with construction components, but I'm going to keep them anyway just in case. I'm deliberately not focusing on the battery. I mean, I don't have the power cells for it, so I guess I don't have to worry about it too much. But I don't want the battery done, and for this to start draining power until we are able to access the control panel and turn everything off. I don't know which direction here's which. I'm going to have to check that. But I want all of the ion thrusters to be off to start with. I want the gyroscope off to start with. I want the antenna on. The connector on. The camera's on. I want the welder off. Alright, that'll work. I think all we have now left are thruster components and a couple of large steel tubes. And the rest of the battery. it's just the battery now. Yeah, because the landing gear we're not going to keep. Okay. So the antenna is active, as is this one. So now, if we open the terminal here, change info to welder. And then find the remote control and control it. Now we need to set up our hotbar, camera, and camera. And battery, recharge mode, connector, switch lock, and toggle, gyro. I need to set up a group for the engines, thrusters, the thrusters. And I'll take the engines themselves off the terminal. Very simple here. Alright, I don't know which camera is which yet. But I need to get a group for the thrusters, because they are off at the moment. Okay, so 1, 2. 2 is forward. This would be a good use for the programmable block if I bothered to put it on there, to stick this prefix on there, on everything. What's that? Oh, that's the actual welder. Welder, welder. Let's cut that down so we don't pick up any unwanted attention. Okay, so now if we turn our gyros on and our engines on, we're able to move. We just hit something. I don't know if we hit something or not, whatever. the airlock. So the connectors that we want to attach to are on the other side here. Turn our dampers off and get moving. This will be far enough. Turn our dampers back on. Maybe not. Everything's backwards here because we're looking at out the back. But that is our connector directly below us there that we're looking at. Right there. And we're locked. And we're recharging. Alright, so we'll recharge that battery. We will do fancy things. See our little welder attached there. It's a pretty small ship, but it's got a lot of cargo space, relatively speaking. See how much cargo space we actually have here. So we just exited the remote control. Do welder 15625. So it's this. The large cargo container on the small grid is the same size as the small cargo container on the large grid. So decent size. About, well, more than 10 times. About 11 or 12 times, I guess, the size of our personal inventory. So good deal. Anyway, that's all for today. Subscribe so that you can see us build the fighter in the next episode, which is I think what we're going to do. That one will actually have a cockpit on it. We'll ride along with that one because, again, we're going to want to be able to conceal our presence by shutting the antenna off, and we can't do that with a drone. So that is going to be a manned ship, and it will have lots of guns and maybe even some missile turrets and cool stuff like that. So be sure to check that out. Like I said, subscribe to make sure you catch it. Likes, comments, and verbal abuse are welcome. Thanks for watching. Bye.